What is going on, Badger fans? You got Herrings, and more importantly, you got Osen. We are talking practice. We just saw it. A great day. Some big moments from the offense and the defense. All that and more. Locked on Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Thank you for being part of this community. As always, grateful to have 247's Nick Osen, and more importantly, I say this all the time, a great reporter, but a better human being. So awesome to have him on the show. A bunch to break down on today's episode. But first, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app today. Get $20 off with your first purchase. That's the Gametime app. Use code Locked On to get that off. Nick, big practice, biggest takeaway. What you got?
Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much, for having me. I mean, this is something we've been pumped about. Biggest takeaway, I would probably say, is based on the last couple of practices that I have seen along with today. I think you're really starting to see this offense come alive and come together. Now, the culture is something that we've been hitting on. That success, that closeness is not something new. But, man, whether you're talking about the run game with guys like Dupree, obviously Jones recently, Yakimelli, or some of these gorgeous deep balls that we saw today that I know you were loving as well, you are just seeing the potential. It is really, really impressive, Ryan. And I think for a lot of these Badgers fans, I'm sure it's something they'd like to latch on to.
Yeah, a couple of nice plays from Dupree today. I'll start there. Physical. Like Dupree, I think that's one of the things with Dupree. You saw him, him and Agard had a couple battles, and Agard is a guy we talked about. Agard has gotten more physical. Mm-hmm. There was one Dupree won today, where open field, Dupree really physically finished that run. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part of Dupree's game that maybe he doesn't get enough credit for, is that physical ability to finish and fall forward. That was impressive today.
Yeah, I could not agree more, Ryan. In fact, we've been talking recently, like a lot of people kind of talk about Dupree as, maybe he can do multiple things. He can be that receiver out of the backfield. All true. But there's a reason that schools like, Alabama and so many other big-time schools wanted this young man. I think you're starting to see he was supposed to be this perfect fit in the previous offense. He might have been. But as you can see, he's got the potential to play in multiple offenses. And this just speaks to, let's give a little bit of credit. I think he gets credit on the recruiting trail, does Devin Spalding. But look, you can't keep this type of talent, see what they're doing, and all really support each other without being great and in control of your room. So I'd like to give some credit there as well.
Yeah, I love that take. Because here's the thing. I've consistently, when I've been able to ask these players about Platteville, because you mentioned culture. Mm-hmm. And, people might be like, it's kind of a buzzword. Listen, you need to have a strong culture. Mm-hmm. You need to. I used to coach basketball, and I coach that would tell me our cultures were 3 to 5 points a game.
Yeah.
So our kids bleed for each other. It matters. And when you talk to the players here in Platteville, they're like, that's what this is about. That's what this trip is about. That's why they come down here. And you mentioned Spalding, keeping that room happy, Fickle. We talked to Blazek today. This is a connected team. If we were here last year, this feels more connected. I think it's real.
Yeah, Brian, if I can just add, because I know we've got another takeaway or two and some great questions, which I freaking love about your show and our buddies' shows as well, of course, with Rajiv and Justin. Culture, if anybody is really into college football or a part of it, it's not just a buzzword. Like, dude, I can tell you that from other schools I've covered, from here, from getting to know people around the program. Like, culture and belief in each other and yourselves can get you past the tough moment in the season. If that isn't present, that is where you can see tougher times. And maybe that gauntlet of a schedule in October, you're going to need to have a good culture, because even if the team is good and better than a lot of people think, like we probably think, that's a tough stretch for anyone. That's a tough stretch for Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, anybody. So that is super important. I think the staff gets a ton of credit for that. I really do. Then just another takeaway that I'd like to have, because I haven't jumped on with you since we've seen it. Mason Ryer, incredible addition and really incredible person. I mean, if you follow him on Instagram, like, he's been putting out videos every single day with kind of his motivation and his journey. I think from the wrong voices, if that were fake, people might not believe it and support it as much. You see, he's so sincere. He's honest. He's self-reflective. I love that kind of thing. I really appreciate those types of people. And, it's just been cool to see his impact already so far. Matt Mitchell's got a lot of dudes to work with right now.
Dude, that was almost my takeaway to lead off the show. But it's been my takeaway every show I've been down here. It's Ryer season. And I don't want to overhype it, but there was a play today, and I think this encompasses what he was. And I don't know if you saw this because there's stuff always going on in all
There
sorts
is,
of places.
yeah.
It's hard to track everything. But there was a screen pass to Dupree. Ryer rushed that play, got into the backfield. They put it over the top to Dupree. Dupree made it down to the 50-yard line. And you know who's at the 50-yard line chasing him down?
Mm-hmm.
It was Mason Ryer
Yeah.
trying to punch the ball out. That is insane for a practice play in the middle of practice when he was the guy that collapsed the pocket to then run down and challenge Dupree at the 50-yard line. Like, his motor is...
You can't teach it.
It's unbelievable. And again, going back to when I coach, I had a coach once tell me in the camp, he said, listen, we can coach effort or we can coach technique. We can't coach both.
Mm-hmm.
And he has got the effort and the motor. Dude, he not going to oversell it, but I think he's potentially a star.
Well, and this is why, Ryan, I think I don't blame fans for questioning and trying to learn and things like that. Like, and I'm going to say it as I wrap up the segment, like, I wouldn't be who I am. We wouldn't all be who we are without fans. But it's gotten to the point that sometimes where I have to be so choosy with my words because we saw some better pass rush last year compared to the year before, and we thought that it would translate to the season. It didn't always. Mm-hmm. I am very, 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 very confident this is going to translate. Why? Because A, it's been all but like one day maybe has been one of the top stories. B, I think the scheme tweaks differential as well as just the different bodies that you are seeing. Because we just spoke with some of the old linemen, like they're also talking about Sebastian Cheeks.
Yep.
Also talking about Daryl Peterson, who's put in a ton of work. We saw some notes. I know myself and others tweeted about Tyrese Fearbreed. So, like, I think this is legit, man. And I think I just wrote some takeaways. I think that was a top 2 discussion coming into the spring and the fall, right? That, and then obviously the offensive changes. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing it on both sides.
Suggs, another one. I think Suggs is a guy who's elevated his stock. He had a really nice practice yesterday. I do want to hit this, though, because this is a good question. We looked at this before, and a bunch of people already kind of commenting. Appreciate you guys. We're going to do the best we can. It's not the best setup. We have a little laptop, so work with us a little bit. But this is from our boy Honcho. Is the defense pressure good, which we hit on? Yes. And if so, is it partially because that offensive cohesiveness, losing a guy like Kevin Haywood?
I'll hit on that one quick. So, yes, it is good. We're seeing good. I think it's going to be good this season. It's 1,000,000,000% better than what we saw last year. That's a fact. And is it because the offensive line cohesiveness? Look, I mean, we both think Kevin Haywood can be a star, an NFL guy. So, yes, that has been an adjustment, but I don't want to undersell the work of Matt Mitchell and the defense, nor do I want to undersell really what this offensive line is doing, because good pass rushes can beat good O-lines. You see it in NFL Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. So, like, sure, there's been some adjustment there, 100%, and that's taking time, and the players similarly said that. But from what I've seen from Mason Ryer, basically you see kind of his size, how strong he is, and then it translating to the field. I'm seeing a young man. I don't believe this is too crazy of a take. I'm not saying he's like a lottery top 10 pick, but I think you're seeing a young man that could play himself to the league. And guys like that are good against any O-line. So great question from our friend on the show in real life, Honcho, one of my guys. But I don't think it is just because of that, because I don't think that's really fair to the guys putting in the work. I think Matt Mitchell, personally, I think there's kind of been, like I said about Jeff Grimes in January, I think there's been an excitement within the program about the job that some of these individual coaches have done. I think he fits into that group.
I think that's really well said. And I also think, listen, it's fair to point out that we're not as good without Kevin Haywood.
Exactly.
Like that is a truism. It's not a knock on a Davis Heinzen or anyone else, but Kevin Haywood's special. There's a reason why he's special, and there's not a lot of special left tackles walking around college football. So anywhere, like in the world. There's only so many guys like that in the world, right? So, yeah, it's not as good because of losing Kevin Haywood. It is a hit. He was going to be an anchor there. That being said, Heinzen is still repping. He's been moved around a little bit. They're settling into it. I think it's going to get better. I do think it is fair to say that spot's not as good as what we had hoped it would be because of Haywood.
Haywood was locked in, obviously an NFL guy in many, many, many people's eyes. So that group is certainly still coming along, I think that I would say. It's not as, cohesive and set up. And I think that, credit to Kevin Haywood. I know our guy Doc was checking in as well, but sincerely, I just tweeted about it. Like, I've really checked in on kind of that progress a lot. And when you hear the young man, 19, and Barrett Nelson, these guys, obviously we can talk about, it's publicly known that they're out, they're not practicing. they're as involved as the coaches right now in terms of getting these guys up to par. Like, that's impressive stuff, man. And that is a culture thing. I've been at places like here and, like Iowa State, really good culture places. I can tell you schools around the country that might have a lot of talent, but they don't always have the culture piece. So that is really impressive. I know I can't be on the whole show. Maybe hit another question or two.
So yeah, I was just going to say, we got to come up on a break, but you can leave whenever you want. We can't keep Nick the whole time. He's got other work to do, but I wanted to hit on two more quick things for you.
Yeah.
You got a second?
Yes.
I love this question from Storm Shadow. A player in the maybe that's not in 2D, may not hear from this year, but is turning some heads, someone to file away for future seasons.
Yeah, that is so good.
Such a good question.
I'll go defense first because it went right to a couple people, and that'd be Mason Posa. He may be in the 2D. Like, obviously it's very early, but he wasn't here for spring for good reason with wrestling, but he has flashed. And then I'd like to say one of the young corners, but I do think they'll be in the 2 deep. So let's go Posa and maybe a guy like Grant Dean on defense. And then offense, look, I think technically this young player would probably be in the 2 deep, but just because there are many options above at other wideouts, I said it with our guys on the Bucky Report. Kyan Barry Johnson, I know you saw it today and probably Sunday. Man, if his hands can be like ultra consistent, I mean, Julio Jones and the best of all time drop balls sometimes. So if those can be incredibly consistent, his route running ability and separation, I personally have him top 2 or 3 on the team in that right now. So that to me has been a major name. And then probably Emmett Borg.
Yeah, Borg for sure. Borg is definitely somebody I was thinking about. And another player that when you just see him move out there, Leteju, like the frame and the movement skills. Again, not going to be in the 2D this year. Boy, you can dream on that guy.
Yeah. I noted him, I think it was Saturday or something, with the sack. Like the bend, the size, the physicality. And, I think we both got to know Coach Sykes and Samuel a little bit. Amazing guy. Like, that's a kid you can count on his motor. You can count on Ryer's motor like we talked about. Seb Cheeks has had a really great journey. So it's exciting, man. I appreciate, obviously, my guy right here since day one let me jump on. He's going to carry it the rest of the way. If I can just mention, please, with myself, our great friend Payne over there, John McNamara, we're at all these. We've got probably 4 or 5 stores every single day. We've got a 50% off promo going right now. I would say if you're into this type of Badgers football, which you guys are, there are many bigger things out there than Wisconsin, football recruiting, staying up to date. But if you're into that type of thing and you can afford it, check us out. I promise it's worth it. And as much as I love these opportunities, we also go back and forth on the message boards all day long with these guys.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely. Go tune into Osen. I've always said this. That's 5-star coverage. Like, that's a 5-star recruit that the Badgers landed in the media sphere, and a better human being than a reporter. I say that sincerely. Like, I'm not gassing him up. He's a great person and support great people doing great work, which is literally all Osen does. So I appreciate it, man. I'm going to take an ad break.
Appreciate you guys.
Coming right back, guys. We're going to empty the clip, go through everything else we saw today. Also, some really interesting moments from the running game and the quarterbacks. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show. Appreciate you. Today's episode also brought to you by our great friends over at 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy is absolutely incredible. And golf's amazing, but sometimes golf can take a little bit out of you. Over at 5 Hour Energy, their new golf flavor, the Fusion, brings really some of your best flavors together, minus the alcohol. You don't have to track down the beverage cart anymore. And if you need to take 18 holes and turn it into 36, that is what the 5 Hour Energy Transfusion can bring you. And whether you're sinking birdies, making memories with friends, or just escaping from work a little bit, this is a hole-in-one for your energy game. Right now, golf is all about good times, good people, good weather, good flavors. The great ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of the clubhouse. And you don't got to go chase down that bev card. Hope it comes around, but has what you need. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's number 5hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF, receive 20% off your order. Offer is only valid until September 30th on one order, cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through, order Transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. All right, let's jump back into this. A bunch more to get into. I got a lot of your comments. We'll do all that next on Locked On Badgers. Okay, so we hit on some of the big takeaways. absolutely Mason Ryer. Again, I don't want to overstate it, but he's looked dominant. He had a couple other sacks. He had one against Molman where he just ripped to the inside. He had a play, gosh, they were doing 2s versus 1s, and Ryer was lined up against, I think it was Leighton Nelson, and just overwhelmed him. I mean, it's not even, he just at times looks unblockable. And I will hit it one more time because I thought it was easy to miss, but incredibly impressive. His motor, it's always running. It's always going. And he's going to run himself into some plays because of that motor. If you have a great motor, relentless pursuit, he's going to run himself into some plays. And we saw it again today. So don't want to go too far on that, but he looked incredible. Let's see, what else do I got for big takeaways? I thought the pass defense was good again. Pass defense looked good again. There was a play early in practice, Latimer, who, by the way, this entire secondary, and I'm going to say for better and worse at times, this entire secondary is physical. They are a physical group of players. Latimer broke up a slant pattern. Austin Brown was there for the interception. I thought the secondary again had pretty good coverage, a lot of checkdowns. There were a couple deep shots today, but they mostly came in, Skelly 7-on-7 without a pass rush. Billy Edwards hit Vinny Anthony for a deep post, got past Kairos Gaines. But again, when they lined up live, I thought the defense got the better of it for the most part in the pass game. The pass rush, I think, is real. We talked about it a couple times. Javier Suggs might be one of the more under talked about parts of this camp. I feel like he's maybe started to push past Perkins. He's certainly very disruptive. Yeah, DP. Here's an interesting one. Gerald Peterson lining up a little bit at kind of a mod tackle position where he's on the interior a little bit, hand in the dirt, passing situations. He was pretty disruptive there too. So you had situations where you had Ryer, DP, Suggs, and Cheeks as your front four, and they look good. This offensive line, and it's not just the edges, had trouble again a little bit keeping them out of the pocket. So I'm becoming a bigger believer in this defense, this front seven, the secondary. I think it's pretty good. Now, where I think there were still a few issues is, again, we saw a couple gashed runs. Dupree had a really nice one. Bortolini took one for 60 yards off a sweep where they brought the receiver behind the sweep action in like an orbit motion. So again, a little eye candy deception there. There's going to be a lot of that this year for the Badgers, which is exciting to track. There were a couple long runs, again, where the defense isn't going to win every rep and the offense isn't going to win every rep. It does still feel to me like there's a few too many gashing runs. There's a lot of Dupree and Yak today. Nothing out on Dylan. I don't think there's anything major there, but maybe a bit of a snap count thing. I would like to see especially the first team defense stand up a little bit better against the running game. I think there's a few issues there potentially still. Billy Edwards, I thought, had a good day. Again, I think this defense at times is making it hard on him. There's quite a few checkdowns. This pass rush was there. Let's talk about Tyrese Fearbury. I know we mentioned that kind of at the top. He looked good too. You just add him into that mix of front seven players. Here's another thing that I thought was really interesting, and I really liked. I took a note of it because this never could have happened last year. Let me find it in my notes. You never could have done this last year. And this year in practice, you're seeing almost hockey line shifts on the defensive line, where at one point in practice, I saw Ryer, Darrell Peterson, and I think Barton go off, and then in comes Walker, Cheeks, Suggs. I mean, they can almost do like hockey line shifts on the defensive line. And you saw that a couple times this year. That front seven, you can send 4 off and bring 4 in. And outside of Ryer, who I think is the difference maker, I think you lose something when he's on the field. Outside of Ryer, I think you can swap a lot of bodies. Corey Walker played some today. It was nice to see him get back on the field. That frame looks huge. I think you can swap a lot of bodies on this defense line and not take a significant step down. I don't know if there's a ton of stars there. We saw Peterson make a couple plays today. Jamel Howard made a couple plays today. I think he's definitely worked on his body. But I think you can swap out the defensive line in rotations and not lose a ton, which is enormous because you're going to get beaten up this year. You're going to get pushed around a little bit against teams that want to play physical. Now you have some bodies to push back. I think that depth is going to play huge. I still just wonder how stout we're going to be on the inside. I think it's a real question still for me. Going back to the DBs, really physical. Deone Hill had a couple big-time hits. Really, really physical player, but he's also a little too handsy. He also drew at least one penalty that they threw the flag on. I thought there was another one. He's going to have to be a little careful. He gets a little handsy in the routes, but he will come up and hit. We talked about Agard will come up and hit. Trainer had a nice day today. Austin Brown had a really nice day today. That safety group is physical. The corners are physical. And I thought the coverage was pretty good again today. So that's something positive to take out of it. Ballard had a nice play. They were doing a kind of skeleton drills, one-on-ones. He beat Agard for a deep streak. Billy Edwards threw that for a touchdown. Didn't see a lot. I didn't see a lot from Tackett Curtis today. There were times the offense was able to outflank the defense. I would like to see maybe a little more from Curtis, maybe a little more from Perkins. I didn't see big flashes there today. And don't take that as gospel, right? Certainly can't watch everything. But I would like to see a few more flash plays from those guys, especially considering some of the hype that they built up there. Offensive line seems pretty set. We were able to talk to the offensive lineman today. We were able to talk to Renfro and Malman, Davis Heinzen, and Coach Blazik. I'm going to tell you some of those big takeaways coming up next, as well as a quarterback that impressed me that I really haven't talked about much. That's coming up next, Locked On Badgers. First, one more quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, put them in the chat. We'll answer those next segment. Today's episode also brought to you by our incredible friends over at Gametime. Gametime is absolutely the spot if you need to go and get any type of tickets. As I try to pull up my my media here, it is not working. Just imagine there's a Gametime banner there. Gametime is absolutely incredible. If you need tickets to any sporting event, concert, musical event, whatever it is, you can find all of those over at Gametime. Best tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. You get tickets basically up until the game starts, and you get sometimes better prices as the game gets closer. They have flash deals, so you don't have to plan months in advance. It's absolutely phenomenal. And right now we have a special offer. Friends of the show, again, apologize I don't have my banner up, but friends of the show, you're going to go to Gametime, download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create the account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. You will not regret it. Okay, let's get back into this. What comments, questions, thoughts do you guys have? I don't know if I'm seeing the comments now. I think something is going wonky with my Platteville internet. And I'm gonna see. Oh, there they are. Okay. John says must be Miami of Ohio. Mobile quarterbacks we've always had issues with. Brent, I love this question. Tough schedule this year. Is there one game in particular that you are circling as a must-win? Maryland is a must-win. Absolute have to win the Maryland game. And it's a Big Ten team. Maryland, you should beat Maryland. But if you don't beat Maryland, you probably aren't going to beat Bama. You're 2-2 heading into that incredibly tough stretch. You lose to Maryland, and the season could – I don't want to think about it. Maryland is an absolute must-win. Hancho, hearing a lot about Bork. After listening to Letton, is Steck's problem on his head getting down on himself? No, I don't think so. Steck had a nice play today on a tight end drag. I think Bork is maybe a little more advanced for a freshman than people realized. And Steck, I think he's big. He's with some of the inline guys they have this year with Aker and Ashcraft. I think they kind of play the role that Steck will eventually play to some degree. Maybe not as much Aker, but I think Ashcraft for sure, that type of guy. So I think Steck is just a year away. I wouldn't be down on him. I would be higher on Bork rather than being lower on Steck. A couple of thoughts here. This one was a good one, I thought, from Cannon L. Do you think Dylan Jones will get a 60-40 split of carries, or will it be more 70-30? Like, Dylan's going to get the majority of those reps when he's healthy. I think he's just the most well-rounded back, incredibly fluid, natural. I would say, because Yak's going to factor into this too, and Aker will get a couple carries. I would say it's probably 65, 25, and then 10. Does that add up to 100? 65, 25, 20? You guys, I don't know. I think it's something like that, though. I think he's going to get like 65% of the carries, and then you'll get reps with Dupree. He's going to be used in a bunch of ways, and then Yak will have to get some carries. Yeah, Yak is yoked up. Like, he can pass block. He can do a lot, too. So I think you have to find a way to get all three of them carries and to keep all three of them fresh. Gideon Atuka had some flashes today, had a big run off the right side. I think Gideon still needs to work on the finer aspects of, like, fine-tune some of those little aspects of being a running back. Pass pro is something Gideon's going to have to work on. But I liked all four of those guys. Couple more thoughts here. I want to get into a couple quick, and then we'll have to shut this down because they'll probably kick me out, or maybe they'll just turn the lights off. I don't know. Let's see. Deone Hill, Ballard had the nice catch. Couple snapping issues again still. So there was a sequence where Ryer had a would-be sack. The very next play, the defense got into that mug look. Again, Terrestrial is trying to find ways to manufacture pressure. That is absolutely going to be part of the season. And it was a bad snap. It would have been a fumble. The very next play was another bad snap. So I hate to go back to what we talked about, was it 2 years ago, where all we talked about was snaps? There have been some snap issues this year. It's something Blazik talked about. We'll have to clean it up, but something just to keep the eye on. I talked about Tyrell Henry a little bit. He looked good. He looks quick and decisive. And then kind of last thoughts here. Offensive line takeaways. We got to talk to AJ Blazik. We got to talk to Davis Heinzen, Renfro, Joe Brunner. And Brunner said something I thought was really interesting. He was really about the culture of the team and how close this team is and about how you're going to need it to navigate this schedule. Riley Mullman said something similar. Going to Platteville brings this team together. This offensive line feels pretty locked in as the culture setters of the team. I think Renfro's a leader on this team. I think Mullman is getting to that point. Brunner is becoming more of a leader on this team, and you can see it in the way he communicates. I think the best teams have leaders on the offensive line. Also, asked Riley Mullman about Billy Edwards, and everything we've heard just continues to be talked about. Leader, dude, stud, brings us together. I think he has all the intangibles you want from a quarterback. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here, guys, because I don't know how long I can actually stick around in the press box before they forcibly remove me. P says Janzy's a stud. Janzy looks fun at fullback. I like that. See, Mountain Grizzly, wish I was there. I wish you were here too. Cannon L, how does the safety rotation look like? I think, to me, trainers looked pretty darn good. Super physical. I question a little bit, and I was looking at it today specifically on Matt Young, his ability to cover in space. They completed a zone pass kind of in his area. I think that's the struggle for him. How is he going to play in space, covering in zones, dropping back? I think trainers look to me pretty impressive. Physical, rangy. He looks really good to me as someone who's going to play this year. All right, we'll wrap it there. On Wisconsin, appreciate you guys so much. Thank you as always for tuning in, for being a part of this community. You guys are amazing. Guys and gals are amazing. And a bunch more content is always coming up.